Thank you. So one thing I want to clarify, right? So where I'm telling you that the standards are going to be revised, remember it's 2 to 3 years for that scoping and sequencing to kind of filter its way through. So there's 2 to 3 years to adjust to adjustments in standards or scoping or pacing, etc. Now, that being said, because we are writing assessments aligned to those standards, you're going to be able to go back and show these assessments, and the assessments are going to drive your curriculum, right? I mean, that's going to drive the curriculum. So the fact that we're developing these assessments, you're going to be able to go back and have those conversations. And don't forget, you're going to need to talk to your 6th and 7th grade folks back at your districts so that they are on board with foundations in geography in 6th grade, the eras as you're going to delineate them in 7th grade, and then what your high school course will balance it out to be, unless you have the luxury of them being here. So, or they can come next time, however you want to handle that, but that's going to be one conversation to have, right? That's going to be one conversation you're going to need to have. I just want to warn you. But I am having conversations with curriculum folks about this work. And this work is good work, and that good work will carry. And the better understanding you have of it, it will dictate that kind of that scope and sequence, as you know assessment kind of does already. Dictate scope and sequence for the most part. That being said, I'm not telling you to teach the test, right? We're teaching skills and concepts, but we know that the test will be a reflection of what your skills are, right? All right. So another question that I'm hearing. Another question.
No, I'm just.
Sure.
This is great for us teachers, but we,
Yep.
shouldn't this be our administration? Because they're the ones who are going to tell us
Right.
what and when we can do it.
And I.
Yeah.
Do all.
Yeah.
Because she's going to probably get into do all.
Sure.
this.
And yeah, and I mean, you can invite her to come, or I can have conversation with her. Like, so that's my example of, though, that by having these conversations, right, it's going to. I'm already having these conversations, but there's so much work to be done. But when these assessments come out, you guys are charged with common assessments. When you come back with common assessments, that's going to drive curriculum instruction or conversation. So, what does that look like? Well, Julie's going to probably support that thinking, but she's going to be that center cog to what the final decision is versus the other. And others have different manners in which that's done. But we can even talk more about that if you wanted to. But she's pretty familiar with this work too. And I'd be happy to talk to her about it. So you have a handout folder, and so now I went back to the big folder, and we also have the standards folder. And actually the standards folder, you see it's just those same standards again. So it's kind of in here twice. So just to point out what that is. Now, one other, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a document called resources. So I'll link you to this. But this last, and I promise this will be the last exploration, and we'll take a break with this at the same time so you can look at it and take a break. So we'll take about a half an hour, let's do 25 minutes. That way you got 15-minute break, 10 minutes to explore. But if you just go open up a new internet tab or window, however you want to open up internet, and just type in Oakland Atlas Rubicon. Okay, so this is going to be our next resource we're going to use. And I'm going to just call it the Oakland, I'm going to call it the MC3. So this is the MC3. If you Google Oakland Atlas Rubicon, it will be the first hit, first link. So click on that link. This is called the MC3 curriculum. Very confusing, but accidentally C3, MC3. MC3 was first, so it's not like the C3 came out and suddenly we whipped something together that's aligned through MC3. Just a coincidence. So the MC3 is the Michigan Citizenship Collaborative Curriculum. This curriculum is very in-depth. When you're first diving into it especially, there's more there than you ever hope to get to as far as within each of the different content expectations. Good or bad, I guess you have different variances in how you see curriculum design. What you can do is you can filter by specific grade. I'm going to select grade 6, grade 7, and world or high school. You don't necessarily have to do it. You can just pick 6th grade and hit browse. But I'm going to do this and social studies because I just want to show you the 3 courses that you really want to focus on. And obviously high school didn't work, so I don't know why that didn't work, but I'll figure out how to get world history to show up. There is world history. So what I want you to look at is that both configurations exist, right? So you might be thinking, especially my 6th and 7th grade table, holy cow, we're going to go to foundations, or we're going to go to like world geography. I'm sorry, we're going to go to world geography foundations, or we're going to go to early world history. My goodness. There is both curriculum available here, all right? So the MC3 is designed by teams of teachers, typically out of Oakland County, and then they pilot and review, and they actually take it through like the college level of a peer edit and an item review. But this new configuration is actually designed to match what this revision of the standards will be. So be careful about Social Studies 6. As tempting as that is to click on, you want to click on Middle School World Geography New Configuration. You've got to have that new configuration. Grade 11 came up? Okay, thank you.
Same with 7th grade though, Mark? Click on the new configuration?
Yes, yes. You want the new configuration. The reason why is because this 6 and 7, this is written around the hemisphere approach. These are hemisphere aligned. You want this foundation. And so high school folks, if you're going back and talking to your middle school people, you want to make sure you know where to help them find this so they can see that there's content exists. So they don't, otherwise they're going to run around with it. Are you guys hemisphere, do you know by chance? No idea, yeah. So if they are currently hemisphere, your foundations and then world history, 1 through, okay, so that's good. Because otherwise they'll be freaking out about the change, right? Which is, change is tough. So if I click on it, it does give you the rationale as to why this is being done, which I've kind of alluded to. But please understand that when you click on these, you are going to get the unit by unit layout. So here's so we talked about scope and sequence, right? So there it is. There's a scope and sequence you can at least start with until you live it. And then once you live it, you can adjust it as you need to. So here's my unit. I will tell you, 6th grade, if you go to World Trade and Globalization, there's not currently a unit there. It's a placeholder, but it's coming, and it's done. I can get my hands on it one way or another. This is our 6th, I'm talking to 6th and 7th grade now. World history should all be there. So what I do, no matter what I'm in, is you select the unit you want, and you need to understand that this is just the unit overview. There's another deeper layer, which could be a good or a bad thing based on how much information you want. This sets the stage for the unit. They give you a unit graphic that describes the unit. They give you enduring understandings, focus questions. There's a vocabulary list down here, keywords. What you're going to look for is the paperclip. Sorry, I'm moving fast if I'm giving you motion sickness. You want to look for this paperclip wherever you are. Sometimes it might be a list of them. Sometimes it might be one. So this is unit 2. You have to click on the paperclip because as nice as that unit overview is, it doesn't help you know about the day-to-day. The paperclip is going to give you the day-to-day. And let me make sure. Okay, so I clicked on just the unit overview. Thank you. So where did I miss it? Okay, so that was a unit. So I'm looking for my paper clips so you can see how, oh, there we go. So what they did is they created lessons and then so they give you the supplemental materials and PowerPoints. So if I click on this, it's going to say, Lesson 1. Do this step, 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 this step. And where it says in this step, use this document, it's going to give you this supplemental material. I'm not asking you to be a robot, though. So even though I'm describing it that way, I'm not saying that's how you have to do it. There's lots of materials for you to choose from. And where you do the lesson, let me see what's going on here. Why don't you come up? Okay, so here's my lesson 1, right? So lesson 1, there's the standards that I'm specifically teaching to. Here's some key vocab for this section, a teacher note of consideration, and then the lesson sequence. So I do this first, then second. So it says here, give each student a copy of the PowerPoint notes page 1, located in the supplemental materials. Okay? So I go back to supplemental materials. Sorry about that. Is it right here? No, that's my unit thing. So I go back here, supplemental materials, click on that. It said, give the students a copy of PowerPoint. Where did it say that? PowerPoint. Oh, there's a little assessment questions in this one. They're not in all of them, though. Where did it say? This is like an assessment. Interesting. There. PowerPoint notes, page 1. So they're asking you to give this to kids. It's probably then going to have you take that PowerPoint that was also there. And as you walk through the PowerPoint, this is probably like a notes organizer for the kids to take notes, be my guess. So all the materials are there, right? So painstakingly, they've developed this for 18 months. And that's why it's out here now. So these materials are available for you. Now, why do I show you this? Because this might be a way to go and kind of generate ideas around when you're coming up with ideas or primary resource documents to consider to put into the actual questions, right? So you might be thinking, well, what is this speaking to? What's a good idea around that? If you don't have it from what you've already done, you can get ideas from some of this material, or you at least have access to the material. All right. Any questions about how to access that? Google Oakland Atlas Rubicon. I will put together a little Google Doc, and I will put it in there called Access to Resources, and I will put a direct link to each of these 4 things so that you can get to them. All right? So let's come back together at, oh boy, what time is it? Oh man. So 10 after, we'll come back together? Or do you want to just go a little bit longer and go to lunch? All right, I'm sorry, you guys. We'll leave for lunch. I'll give you an hour and 15 minutes for lunch. How about that? Is that a good trade-off? Because I did not give you your official break. I was too excited. So,